So as season 3 went on, I came to the realization that this is one of the first shows I've seen where the protagonists, who are greatly outnumbered by murderous killer robots that are armed to the teeth, don't really have any weapons. They got no guns, no blasters, no lightsabers, no force, but what they do got is a little bit of love. Yes, that's right. Love will take down those evil robots. All right, welcome everybody to my review of Season 3 of Lost in Space. Yes, this was the final season. I'm not sure what the ratings or the viewership is for the show. I know my inner circle and the videos I frequent on the YouTube, and not a whole lot of chatter about this. So I'm grateful it got 3 seasons and at least a chance to tell its story entirely. I've had enough sci-fi shows in my life that end prematurely and they don't get to finish, so I'm glad the Robinson family got to come to a legitimate ending, which is definitely nice for me, the viewer, and obviously probably the cast and crew members on the show. So to sum up Season 3 and the series in general, very simply, let's just call it great. Was the show perfect? Absolutely not. There was a bunch of stuff that I thought was, maybe a little bit on the dumb side or didn't really work that well. But I had a ton of fun watching this show, and I enjoyed myself immensely to the point where nothing that I thought maybe was a little dumb or out of place or I wish they didn't do that, it didn't bother me or distract me from the fun I was enjoying from the show. And at the end of the day, that is what a TV show or series or movie or game, whatever it is you're devoting your time to, should be doing. So yes, Lost in Space Season 3 was great. Let's discuss a couple of things that I thought maybe didn't work, and then we'll get into why the show succeeded. So first off, I thought the intro to the first episode was just, again, I mentioned earlier that some things felt a little dumb. Judy is like, life is on the line. The ship's booster goes on autopilot and has to land, and she's flying out to go back to the ship and just leaps. And like, I felt I don't know, it's kind of odd. I didn't feel any tension. I didn't feel like her life was in danger. And then to see how she hit the ship and almost slid away, I'm like, oh, she legit almost died. And it almost was like a plot device just to say, hey, Dr. Smith's here. So that was a little weird. And on top of it, the actor who plays Will has obviously hit puberty from the previous seasons. So to have him in this opening scene talking a lot was noticeable, considering the very next bit they go to a time jump. Had they just saved Will's parts for after the time jump, hey, it would have made a lot more sense. But yeah, that's, again, minor gripes, and it was like literally the first 5 minutes. After that, things started to go in the right direction. So when I did my trailer reaction, I mentioned that in the first 2 seasons, Dr. Smith wasn't, it was probably a little more the weaker side of me, just because, I don't know, it has nothing to do with the actress playing her. I think I think the acting is fine. It's more so how the character is written, and I know that's how Dr. Smith was in the original. I know Dr. Smith's always been kind of the antagonist on the ship. I get it. But with the stakes they're up against and all that, I just wasn't as into her story. And I don't know if the writers wanted to change a little bit with her going into Season 3. But I felt like Dr. Smith didn't really have a lot to do in this season. Like, she's mostly kind of sidelined throughout, the middle portions of this. She has a little bit in the intro to be, hey, she's here, she's alive, and then she gets a little more to do in the finale. But through those middle parts, it's really a whole lot. There's not really much for her to do or to contribute to the story. Was she better this season for me? Probably a little bit, but I don't want to, it kind of sucks saying that when I precede that with, I don't think they knew what to do with her or kind of what role to give her, because like, she's cryo frozen and she's kind of more or less the babysitter. She does have 2 kind of moments where she might want to commit homicide, and it's the first or second episode when she wants to potentially whack I can't remember if it was Judy or Penny, but she wanted to whack one of them in the back of the crowbar if, things did not go her way. And then at the end, the person who could reveal her whole torturous past, she sees on Alpha Centauri, and she feels like she has to kill that person in order to keep her secret safe so she can live out her days there. But again, doesn't necessarily happen that way. So for most of the season, not a lot to do. I enjoyed what they did with her in the finale, so there's that. Now, speaking of the finale, finales are always so tough to stick. Go through all the greatest shows in the world, and there's a lot of divisiveness and a lot of issues people have with finales. And for the most part, I thought the finale worked for me. It tied up all the loose ends, but I think they tried to cram a little bit too much stuff into the final 2 episodes, and a lot of the ideas felt, underdeveloped or just kind of shoehorned in there. So I thought it could have did a little bit better, a little more streamlining of the finale would have made things a lot more smoother. But for the overall part, I think they did an okay job. But again, if I had some negative gripes on the season as a whole, there's some stuff in the finale that I thought was a little unnecessary. So if you want a specific example, the scenes where Will and the robot go back to the robot's home world, in theory, this could be great. But it's just literally just a random second, okay, how are we going to defeat this? And they just jump to the robot homeworld, and they think that they're going to convince all these robots to change. And again, I don't think they allowed enough time to develop this, because all the other robots chasing them, yes, SAR's kind of the leader of that faction chasing him, but the robots have wanted to eliminate life, human life, so to speak. And they get there to their plan, and they're just like, yeah, what's up? And then they all just go their separate ways. So if that's the route they go, if that's the route they really wanted to go, I felt they could have spent a little bit more time, at least or maybe the early episodes leading to breadcrumbs about the robot homeworld and, the robot in general as a species and stuff like that. So now let's talk about the parts that were really great in this season. And since we were just talking about the robot and the robot homeworld and all that plot, let's go right back there. I actually enjoyed the kind of sacrificing himself, his essence, his nanos, or whatever it is, into Will's heart, anticipating that if Will ever got in trouble with Scarecrow, like if the humans' plan did fail and Will got in trouble, that this could be potentially a fail-safe. And I liked that as a way of bringing Robot back, because he obviously had the nice sacrifice moment. And at that moment, I legit thought he's probably done. So it was kind of neat to see that there was a plan to actually bring him back at the end, because let's face it, the center of the show is Will and the robot. So it was a great way for that story to end, and then how they then end up taking off exploring, other galaxies. The Robinsons. So the cast who play the Robinsons, the drama, the family, the dysfunction of the family, how they pull on one another, and they all have their own different skill sets. I love it. Love the dynamic they've set up for the family. It's definitely a high point for me. In the first half of the season, I enjoyed kind of the, the archaeology type stuff, like discovering the makers of the robots, trying to unravel the mystery of what happened to them. Even though this isn't really a horror show, I was kind of getting a little bit of Prometheus vibes in some scenes. So those were definitely enjoyable, and I just really enjoyed that kind of adventure and discovery in shows when they do it well. And then the final thing I want to highlight is the robots. The CGI, the tech, whatever it is they're using, obviously looks great. I love the design of the robots. And this isn't necessarily a season 3 thing. This is a series in general thing. But I love their take of modernizing the robot. And everything down to when the robots are in orange mode, kill mode, just the ticking of the metal. As they moving and stuff like that, I just the sound design, the visual design, everything like that is great for the robots. And I really enjoyed the story of the one, Will's robot and the family versus this army of menacing, overwhelming threat of the robots who want to basically kill the humans. I just love this army of robots that want to kill the humans, but more but they more or less wanting to get Will because they saw that Will was able to turn one of them, right? They're afraid that he can do it to all of them. So that's why Will's got to go. So it's definitely, I enjoyed that take. So they at least had some vested interest on why they were so desperate to hunt down Will and humanity. All right, so let's give this thing a score out of 10. Season 3 for Lost in Space for me, I'm going to give an 8 out of 10. That is, if you've been following my reviews, that is a solid score. I can't recommend this enough to people who enjoy, either sci-fi or action adventure. This is definitely a show you might want to consider. The show's only 3 seasons long, so the commitment isn't that much, and it's just a great, fun show to unwind at the end of the day, too. So let me know in the comments, did you enjoy Season 3, and what are your final thoughts of this show? Peace out, everybody. We'll see you all in the next video.